Hello and welcome to Crimson, Grey, Dusk and Dawn, which I've been wanted to play since I saw it recommended to me. And oh my god, that music's so loud in my ears. I don't know how loud it is for you because I got my recorder set to record especially. Okay, so this is the game that got recommended to me before I realised this was a sequel. I haven't played it, got no pictures. No loads. So, yeah, it's actually nice music at the title screen. Oh my god. That's a very interesting picture frame. I mean, she's smiling like a crazy biatch, and he looks depressed. I mean, okay, only be fair. He looks like a depressed biatch, because I called her a bitch, might as well call him a biatch. Yeah, so let's get into this. Author's note, this game is a direct sequel to the original Crimson Grey and will make less sense if you didn't play the first one. Well, I played it, and I played the first one. College days! The melancholy melody echoed within her, and Lizzie clung to it. Oh. There was a time when the melody hadn't been within her, though she preferred not to think about that time. That was before she met him. The melody was sad, but it was his, and so she loved it, and it was certainly better than the emptiness. Lizzie had expected that meeting her special person would change everything, and it had, but to her surprise it hadn't happened all at once. Instead, they both grew and changed, their life together becoming ever more wonderful, and her mind growing to encompass it. Yet she had a difficult time pinpointing exactly when she had first heard the melody. It would have been romantic if it had appeared at some momentous occasion, such as when she met him, or when they first made love, oh god, or some future day when they were finally married. But instead it had slowly emerged, whispering at the edges of her mind. Smiling to herself, Lizzie began to contemplate the beginnings of the melody more thoroughly. But at that moment her world was disrupted by two people approaching her. Her eyes flickered over their substanceless bodies, analysing everything about them. She distantly knew the girl's name. Had only seen the boy on several occasions, both sophomores like John and her. No physical threat. Lizzie had seen the two of them holding hands on the campus green, and from pupil dilation judged them to be a couple. So unlikely to be a threat to her relationship. But now that they were approaching her, she put on her usual smile and considered them more carefully. Okay, the boy was normal enough, but the girl, she was rather pretty, and she dressed fairly well. It would take so little for her to try to show off what she had. It would take so little for her to show off what she had. Ah! Was that a teasing glint in her eyes? Lizzie smiled. Lizzie's smiles widened just a bit, and she reclassified the girl as a mirror threat. "Hey, sorry to interrupt you. It's Lizzie, right?" "That's right, nice to meet you," she responded politely as they introduced themselves, only tracking the information for future reference. Once putting on a friendly mask had been difficult for her. An imitation of something she'd only observed now. Now she could fake it more easily, mirroring real emotions she had when she was with him. It irritated her to waste her smile on random people who didn't matter, though. So as soon as possible, Lizzie encouraged them to get to the point. We are trying to start a social thing for other couples on campus. They may be about the same age, but hanging out with single college kids just isn't the same, you know? We don't have many people yet, so if you have any ideas, we're open to them. Either your husband's name is John, right?" "Husband? Ooh. Why did she know his name?" "Haha, this music!" Lizzie's smile became brittle as she stared over the girl again, searching for the slightest tick that might give her away. She had played it off like she wasn't sure about his name, but she knew Lizzie was sure of it. Perhaps her analysis of their threat was wrong. She had dismissed them as a couple, but neglected to consider how impure most love was. The girl might ignore her partner and target John. Or they could be one of those sexual adventurous couples she read about, prowling for the other couples. Lizzie had not given a single real thought to the subject until that moment, when bloody hatred clawed itself out of her soul. Oh, ha ha! Just as she was about to let those emotions leak out onto her face, Lizzie heard the melody again over the beating of her heart, sad but calm. She wasn't sure what John would say to her, but the thought of him soothing the growing rage. Slow down. It was also possible that the girl hadn't wanted to seem too forward, like they had been tracking them, checking their face more carefully. Lizzie saw a hint of nervousness and forced casualness. She set aside her main concern, flagging it as a potential problem for the future consideration. Only a tiny fraction of a second had passed. Lizzie gave them both an apologetic smile. "That was very kind of you, but it's hard for us to have much of a social life. We're trying to get our degrees quickly." "Oh, that's a shame. The offer is still open, though. Let your husband know, okay?" "Okay." With that, Lizzie brushed past them as quickly as she could without seeming rude, despite the potential threat and new source of danger to consider. Yandere. She also felt a little warm. People thought they were married. They were often together on campus, but Lizzie had thought she restrained the majority of her affection for when they were alone. The warmth drained her away slowly as Lizzie went about her business, though. They still weren't married. John was willing to tie the knot, but the thought of it made her heart leap into her chest. It had nothing to do with the idea of being with him. Lizzie berated herself for the very thought, and everything to do with how she was sure that the wedding would draw bad luck to them somehow. At first she hadn't wanted to get married because she was afraid that the official record would draw 𝕎𝕚𝕥𝕙 down on them somehow. 𝕎𝕚𝕥𝕙. Boo, they're still about. But over the 2 years had passed since the violent incident, and it was clear that they had escaped. Enrolling in college hadn't drawn any negative attention either, so it was safe for them to get married. And yet something would go wrong, even if they didn't invite anyone. She was sure that someone would ruin their day, and while no one could possibly ruin their relationship, she would only have one wedding day, and she wanted it to be perfect. Suddenly the people around her were too many. Well, music changed. Faceless, soulless creatures moving past her indifferently. The drone of their voices drowned out the melody. Yeah, I kind of miss the melody now. Stopping in place, Lizzie frowned, struggling to regain it, but his melody had drifted out of her mind, and no amount of thinking about the joy she felt with him would bring it back. Ooh. Checking the time, Lizzie decided that she had enough before she needed to get to class. Normally, she preferred to arrive early, but that was no longer her priority. The gentle buzz of class, which she usually found possible, if a pale second to being with him, would now only disrupt her. Okay. It was difficult to hold herself back, but Lizzie managed to sprint across campus no faster than an ordinary runner. This wasn't the first time, and someone from the track team had actually tried to recruit her. That was unacceptable. The track uniforms were flattering, but everyone would be wearing them. Of course, he would come out to event to be supportive, but that meant his eyes would be assaulted by the entire female track team. That could not be allowed. No! Ugh! Kill the thoughts. Kill the track team just to be... Whoa! 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 Holy sh... Hold on. Let me just, okay. So, yeah, look at this. My mouse, that's moving by itself. Whoa, which one is it going to? Let's see. Oh. Hey! I could end up clicking the wrong one here. Okay, so kill the track team just to be safe. Let it go, Lizzie. John would... Jesus! I like it. Geek! Ha! I win! Lizzie gripped her forehead with both hands, forcing the thought away. She didn't need to do that anymore. Wow, just ooh. The hollowness within her grew and grew as she left campus. Fortunately, their little apartment was nearby. A split home provided a housing for couples. It had taken serious work to obtain one, despite not being married, as the fools in admission thought there was a chance she and John might break up. Since it was 2:52, John was likely to be reading for a class. He had referenced a paper being due soon, but he never went down to the computer lab until she was in class. After all, he knew that she might need him. His consideration made a warm glow spread through Lizzie, but that wasn't enough. She needed to see him. She had her key in hand as she approached the door, but it was already unlocked, almost as if he had known. Lizzie threw it open and rushed inside. Jesus, that look. John sat on the couch, reading a textbook. John sat on the couch. So he just sat on the couch? Or was he already... reading a textbook. See, it made no sense. He looked perfect, and when he glanced up and at the noise and saw her there, gasping for breath, with her eyes wild, he just gave a comforting smile. Everything alright, Lizzie? Of course it is. I just forgot a book I needed for class. Bullshit. She swept up to him and wrapped her arms around his shoulders to give him a slow kiss. The sight of him had calmed her considerably, and Lizzie tried to keep the desperation out of the kiss. Yes, this warm intimacy with him was what she needed. There was no sense giving him anything to worry about. She had found him, her perfect person. Lizzie drew back slightly and rested her forehead against his. Her heart filled with warmth, and his melody strung in her mind once again. I love you, Lizzie. Ah, it made her heart flutter, just as much as it did the first time he'd said it. I love you too, John, more than anything. At least it's more like, saying, instead of, I love you, John. John, I love you, love you, love you, love you, love you. But as happy as she was to reply, she sensed that something wasn't quite right. There was a bit of tension in his eyes. He was carrying some weight. Depression? Had someone done something to him? No, Lizzie realised it wasn't it. That wasn't it. He was looking at her with concern, having sensed some part of her neediness. It was wonderful that he was so attractive, but the idea that she could have caused him any pain broke her heart. Is there anything you want to talk about? Does it move by itself? No. Encourage him. Nope. Sometimes I just miss you so much I have to stop by. Well, I never mind seeing you. I'm glad. You've been seeming kind of down lately. Let me know if there's anything I can do. You're already incredible, Lizzie. I'm glad to have you. Aw, so sweet. Lizzie leaned in closer and kissed him again. I'll be back after class. Maybe tonight we'll both have some free time, okay? John smiled and kissed her back. The shadow in his eyes was gone, which made a new warmth flow through Lizzie's chest. What's the chances of me getting the true ending? I bet I've already messed things up already. I'm going to get like the worst ending possible. Though she longed to stay, she knew that it was better to go to class. Maximizing time in the short term would only hinder their long-term objectives, and she wanted as much of him as she could possibly get. Okay, what are your objectives? What are your objectives? Did I skip something? Oh shit. I don't know. Hopefully not. I was just... Lizzie headed to their bedroom and traded one spiral notebook for another. feeling a moment of guilt at the deception, but no, it was better this way. She could take the burden onto herself and leave his life lighter. Oh, what? Way to make me feel shitty! She left with a kiss and a cheery wave, but then crept around the side of the apartment. She had left a little earlier than necessary to arrive to the class on time for this very purpose. From the perfect angle, she could see him through the window, going back to his book, studying so seriously to help them have a better life together. Lizzie didn't try to hide the broad smile on her face, just spent a while watching him. There was less need to watch him now that they were together, but she still enjoyed it. Once she had been observed, and the other girl had made the despicable assumption that Lizzie was concerned that he would cheat on her, as if such a thing was possible, as if she needed any reason except to look at him. She did like to serve him sometimes to make sure he wasn't sad again. John's depression was mostly under control now that they had abandoned that awful 𝕎𝕚 medicine, but she knew it was a part of him that needed to be watched. The thought of his inner sadness made Lizzie want to run back inside and kiss him again, forget class and just spend the time making love until he looked only happy and relaxed. Reluctantly, Lizzie pulled herself away and headed towards the lecture hall. John was mentally healthy. He wouldn't forget about her love just because she was away for a little while. She made sure of that. Well, I'm glad you didn't make me choose. She arrived just a little late, but it was a relaxed university and no one cared too much. Lizzie carefully set out her books and focused on the lesson. There were worse things in... There were worse than... Oh, God. There was worse... Oh, God, now I'm just changing words. There were worse things than classes. If the universe declared that she couldn't spend every single moment with him, she needed something else to fill her time. With a few exceptions, like psychology classes weren't obnoxious at all. A few even provided knowledge that might have utterly utility in the future. Might have utility in the future. What? Okay. I'm just pretend that I know how to read. Okay? I do know how to read. Just... And all of it had some utility in getting them closer to their degrees. Once it had been difficult for Lizzie to think about such long-term plans, but now she could see how both of them earning degrees would help them create the life they wanted. But after that, things became more tangled in her mind. She wanted to be with him. She wanted whatever he wanted. But he was convinced that they should take jobs in the industry, play some small role in preventing pharmaceutical giants like 𝕎𝕚 from doing anything as terrible as they'd done at their old high school. All the experience they had done that had led to Lizzie's assistance. The idea that John wanted to make sure there would never be anyone else like her, that she would be the only one. It made her tingle all over. She didn't think he would approve of that though, but she liked it so much that she kept it to herself. But the idea of getting involved with 𝕎𝕚 again, even indirectly, still left her What? She wanted what? He wanted, of course. A life together. They would have that no matter what they chose. It'd be fine. It would be fine, would it? For once, Lizzie set such thoughts aside and focused fully on class. Yes! After the lecture finished, Lizzie practically skipped out of the hall. It had been her last class of the day, and John had likely finished the work that he needed to do in a computer lab that left them the rest of the day to themselves. So she wouldn't have to leave him again. Lizzie stopped by the store first since they were low on food. It hurt her pride as a cook that they had to eat ramen, but money was tight. The least she could do was purchase cheap vegetables and enhance the experience. No, that's not... It hurt her pride as a cook. As she picked out appropriate ones, Lizzie carefully kept track of her spending versus the amount of money she had left. She had aged out of child support. Not that the man who had impregnated her mother had even been reliable, which, combined with college expenses, left her in more difficult financial situation than ever before in her life. She was careful to add everything up in her head so that she still had enough money to drop by the pharmacies after getting their grocery. There was a small local-owned one where she felt comfortable getting John depression medication. Oops. Though it seemed to be getting more expensive these days. Of course, she did still owe Abby's home in their... Okay, what? Of course, she did still own Abby's home in their hometown, but Lizzie wanted to avoid anything to do with it in case Curry Tech was watching, and John would never want to live there anyway. Perhaps after they graduate, she could sell the house for a down payment on one of their own. Jesus. The idea gave her a pleasant hum of emotions as she finished her errands and headed back home, still with a spring in her step. But when Lizzie arrived, she found the door locked. She quickly pulled out her key, adding another scratch mark to the lock before successfully opening it. The apartment was empty, briefly making her heart hammer in her chest. There was a note on the table, and she seized it. Eyes flickering over the words, John had gone to the computer lab and said he hoped to be back before she was, but that it might be longer, so she had an explanation. But even as Lizzie breathed a sigh of relief, part of her mind began to chun with other thoughts. What if this was some kind of excuse? No, John would never do such a thing. Never. Jesus Christ, not this music. Lizzie crumpled the paper in her hand, then nervously tried to smooth it out again. John would never betray her. She knew that now, carried the fact tightly in her heart. But the words were filled with awful people. The world was full with awful people, terrible women who might try to seduce him, and even if he pushed them away, the idea of one of them laying a hand on him. Hold on, why is there a knife on that table? She brought her knives? And what if Koitek got a hold of him somehow? They already tried it once, to use him to get to her. She thought they were safe now, but what if she was wrong? Once Lizzie might have flown out the door and hunted him down until she could be sure that he was safe. Now she found herself pacing, fingers tangling in her hair, as she tried to quiet the thoughts screaming in her head. On a whim, Lizzie grabbed the extra spiral note she had taken and slapped it down on the table. She began furiously writing everything in her head, letting the thoughts out to give herself a little relief. She'd done this once before she had met him, just like she collected pictures of him. Now that she had the real thing, she neglected such habits, but they had helped her once, perhaps they could again. Finally she was done. Lizzie took a deep breath and looked over the page of furious scribbling. Some of the thoughts there embarrassed her. She needed to trust him utterly, but it was good to get them out of her head and onto paper. She felt calm again, and the memory wafted from the deep recesses of her soul. The place where she kept him, comforting her even now. Though the page was a mess, she had returned from the edge. Lizzie realized that she was gripping a knife in her other hand. After a pause, she set it down. Though her mind was clear, she still wasn't sure what to do. Obviously, John would never cheat on her. He had been very considerate to leave her a note, and no doubt that explains the situation. It was also unlikely that anything terrible had happened to him. She still missed him, though, and wanted to drown the rest of her fears in his presence. It was possible that he would be unhappy if his work had gone on too long, and might be happy to see her. Lizzie closed the notebook and put it with the others, considering what she should do. Righty, I'm gonna save it off here. So I've been your main man, Aaron Paradise. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share. This has been Crimson Grey, Dusk and Dawn. Is that what the game's called again? I don't know, I forgot. The Yandere, the Yanderer, the Yandere, the there. Anyway, the tale of the Yanderer, Yandere. Thank you for watching, and I shall see you in the next video. Thank you.